really know what's going on over there other than everybody's dumb.
The instant you step out of line, you say something that they don't like and they don't like you personally, they're going to use all those pre-existing laws and they're going to use it on you.
Woman exposed her male genitalia to women and underage girls. That's what happened.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way. It's super cringe.
Eric Butler, say hello to everybody. Eric Butler, TaneReport.com. I am the king of all Andrews. Andrew says, "How are you, Eric?"
Yeah, enjoying Pride Month here. Right.
Well, it is episode 69. We didn't plan that at all, unless we planned that like 2 years ago. How long has it been? If it's 69 episodes, that's a year and like 2 months or something. So that would have been some intense planning.
52 weeks in a year. We skipped a couple weeks.
Yeah, so it's been 7 years. And it's episode 69, already demonetized. While we're still on the loading screen, we're demonetized. So make of that what you will, Eric Butler.
Really? Already?
So much to talk about. Yeah. I made the thumbnail and I added it to the playlist, and then we're demonetized. As soon as you monetize, then we're demonetized.
And can I just say this? We see this on Instagram too for weeks. In fact, months. They were bugging me. Notifications.
Mm-hmm.
Sign up for monetization. Sign up for monetization. Then it gets monetized. And this morning I get a notification saying, not that I've been demonetized, but that your account is at risk of being demonetized.
A soft warning that the government's coming for you.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you guys spent 6 months trying to get me to sign up for this thing. I finally sign up for it. It works for like a month, and then you're like, and I haven't posted. You know what? Doesn't matter. I'm getting off track. We'll stick to the story.
The please get monetized team is different than the shut you down team, I'd imagine. But PostMates is making some weird moves here, and we're gonna get to this. For Pride Month, of course. PostMates, I don't have it here, but as I understand, it's a company that can just deliver you anything, I'd imagine.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I've never used it. I believe it to be just similar to Uber Eats. You guys have that, right?
Yes,
yeah,
we do.
So
Uber Eats and DoorDash here are the predominant ones.
Yeah.
Skip the Dishes as well.
What's that?
We also have a thing called Skip the Dishes. Do you have that?
No, nope. Not familiar with that.
Okay, so then it's 1 for 1 then.
I mean,
see if we can get this
just
to play.
because I haven't heard about it doesn't mean it doesn't exist here. But
what are you? It does, actually. Eric Butler standard. Did that just screw things up here?
Well, you always...
Okay, there we go. I thought we froze for a second. That would have been disastrous.
Right. Is it frozen or is it not playing?
You eating this, Pride? Well, if you're a top...
What? Come on.
It seems like you can eat whatever you want.
Come on, bruh.
What,
I don't know why it does this. We should start just playing it through the browser, I think. But Eric Butler, you can see the taco. So basically, they're telling you how to have sex for Pride.
But if you're a bottom, you're expected to starve?
Oh, this is going to be brutal.
Yes, it is. Maybe we should go and come back. I don't know, but
not this Pride. Introducing the...
This is going to be brutal. What happens if we full screen it?
Bottom-friendly menu from PostMates. We teamed up with Dr. Evan Goldstein from Bespoke Surgical to bring you a menu of bottom-friendly foods backed by science.
So just to be clear here, Eric, this is foods. They're telling you, a company that delivers foods, telling you what not to eat in case you plan on having anal sex. Am I mistaken?
I think you're correct in that. And it's also funny that they have consulted with a surgeon. What kind of surgeon are you consulting? Is this about transgender surgeries? Is this about some sort of reconstructive surgery that you might need to undergo if you've, I guess, been a bottom for too long? I don't know.
Insoluble fiber won't help you feel cute, so avoid them. foods like whole grains, wheat bran, cauliflower, potatoes, legumes. Hold up. Are you just fully diving into those beans?
Ew.
The problem with these foods is they don't dissolve in water, which could cause a traffic jam in your digestive system, making a mess of your evening. Speaking of messy, it's a good idea to avoid dairy.
I cannot handle lactose right now.
hell?
Look at her.
All right, let's pause again, Eric. This is truly strange. So, it's hard for me to imagine how this isn't insulting to gay people. I mean, maybe because I'm not gay, I don't understand. But your Postmates thinks that gay people need advice on what not to eat in order to not, evacuate their bowels.
I'm not so sure. I mean, there's no way that the levels of the multiple levels of corporate executives or whatever let this get through because they're just so concerned about the mess that might be made during Pride Month. I think what happened, and we're playing right into this, is that they just needed some press. Good press, bad press, whatever. They're just throwing it out there to say, hey, look at us. And they know that people are going to talk about it either way. Now, in the long run, I don't think they're actually going to gain that many customers. I'm not an expert. I'm not a corporate executive, but are we really, is the assumption that so many gay people that weren't using Postmates are now going to use Postmates because
they've given me this great advice.
Yeah, because they're so considerate and they're thinking about my, I guess, well-being during Pride Month? Or is it going to be that the normal people that were using Postmates every week, a couple times a week, perhaps, offices will continue to do it. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is I don't think just like we saw with the baseball, wearing pride hats and stuff. I think the risk of you losing customers is far greater than you gaining a couple of gay people who are very impressed with your corporate virtue signaling. But I could be wrong. And I was talking to one of my buddies about this actually, and I said, I said, are we really, are gay people really out there like, yes, this is exactly what we needed, amazing? And he was like, yeah, there might be. And I'm like, dude, you're actually right. There are probably guys out there who are like, this is amazing, but I just can't put my
Somebody
feet in
on
those
Twitter
shoes.
did say that. I like you sent me this. That was the first I saw of it. Then I saw it on Twitter, and somebody was like talking about it, and then Postmates replied to them, and they were celebrating how wonderful it is, and that they should go even further.
I don't know. I can't imagine what.
If you're going to
Sorry, it's just so stupid.
eat something insoluble, give your body about 24 hours to process all of it.
24 hours to process all of it.
Soluble fibers and protein are the key to having some good, clean.
So yeah, all right. I think we've seen enough. It's really lagging out here. But eat the right thing so that you don't poop your pants, basically, Eric, during gay sex, I guess. And people will be like, "Oh, this is so
I can assume
offensive."
they won't be
I'm
wearing
sure.
pants. Just
Assuming somebody finds this super offensive. I'm sorry, but like, isn't it insulting that people think that you need advice on this? It's like, imagine there's a sunscreen commercial that was like, "Black people, do you know that you could use sunscreen as well?"
yeah. Well, this is. I mean, right? We know how stupid they think we all are. They can go out there and say. Now, obviously, the federal government. This is a far cry from Joe Biden or Rachel Levine talking about transgender kids, but it's clear that the government and these corporations think people are really stupid. And fortunately, I don't think people are quite as dumb as they think we are. So we're fed all this stuff and they think as a whole, well, if we just throw this out on a mass level, mass marketing campaign, then everybody will believe it. But I can pretty much guarantee you, no matter where you are, you could be in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, you could be in the Castro district, the gayest part of San Francisco, arguably the gayest part of the whole country.
Why is it called that?
That's a great question. I don't know
Like
why.
Fidel Castro? I don't know.
I don't know why it's called. That's a good question. Living in San Francisco basically my whole life, I've never thought about why the Castro district is named the Castro district. I do have some horror stories about being there, but we'll save that for
Give
another
us one.
time. Well, it was one. I was very young. I was in college, and the Castro district is notorious. It used to be notorious for its Halloween party. They
Sounds
have
good
since
already.
they have since discontinued it because people were getting it turned violent in a weird way. Like, there was traditional violence between thugs and gangsters, but there was also these horror stories that are unconfirmed of people in the community. I don't even know what we can say here, but bug chasers that were attempting to
I don't
infect
know what that
people.
means.
You don't know what a
Oh,
bug?
that's weird.
Yeah. Um, But though that's all urban legend. But I do have one firsthand story, and I'll keep it very short, of just being there, wearing my roommate at the time's lab coat. He was a nursing major, so he had a lab coat. I had a fake stethoscope from like a toy store or something as a last minute costume
Mhm.
to be a doctor. And um, I'll just say that the population of the Castro is incredibly aggressive. These are not timid people at all. And we're talking more than a decade ago. Um, so all that said, I don't know why it's called the Castro, but it is. And I guess to bring it full circle, everybody thinks collectively that we're all stupid. But if you go to the Castro district and actually talk to people, they're not, yeah, they're going to be radical. They're going to be politically radicalized, and they're going to tell you that, everything is racist, but they're not stupid to the point where, well, I'm going to buy Postmates now because they gave me a menu that will be beneficial to not messing the bed or the room or whatever. It's just it's beyond parody. Like, this is something that you would literally think is a parody um from Babylon B or something, but this is actually real. And it's almost to the point, last thing here, it
Mhm.
coincides perfectly, I believe, with Scott Wiener, California senator, who, jokingly or not, suggested that we should do Drag Queen 101 as part of K through 12 curriculum. This is how extreme it's become. And Scott Wiener, of course, has done a laundry list of other awful things that we won't have time to get to here, but you can Google him. It's absolutely terrible. But this is how bad it's gotten. This is how stupid they think you are, that your kids should be forced to learn about drag queen in school, whether it's a joke or not, fine. And B, you can order from this bottom friendly menu because apparently they think every gay guy just started being gay yesterday, and they didn't. I
Yeah.
mean, dude, you knew about
Their
this.
first time. Um, they've never like they don't know their own bodies. Yeah, it's insulting. I like as weird and as gross as it is. At the same time, it should be, I think, insulting. How can you do that? You're not gay. You don't know. But I think it should be insulting because like they're treating you, like you said, like idiots. Like
Yeah.
I'll just use my own, like if somebody said here's a menu for straight people, so you don't, I don't know, kill your wife or something. I don't know, during sex. I don't know. It's so stupid to even try to think of an example because that's how stupid it is.
Yeah. But we're
And then
here.
there's some
We
other
made it.
stupidity. We
Peak
made it.
clown
We made
world.
it to. Oh, you want peak clown world? Geico from the New York Post. Yaren Steinbuch, don't know who that is. Geico ordered to pay 5.2 million to woman who claims she caught STDs during sex in car. Now we got the wonderful Geico Gecko here. He's a very nice guy. So I read through this. You had questions, which I think were the normal questions. That's why I read it. And she said, the woman who won the lawsuit said that being in the car during sex contributed to the fact that she got HPV. I don't know how. The article doesn't say so. They don't say so from like the lawsuit point of view. Let's see if I can click that to get out of the way. They keep using this image here of a two hands, like Titanic style. The Missouri Court of Appeals on Tuesday affirmed the multi-million-dollar payout against Geico. She claimed he caused her to catch the STD when he knew of his condition and the risks of unprotected sex. So yes, the guy is guilty here, just as we were talking about, as you said, bug chasers. There's fun sidebar here. Canadian football player was once charged for giving like 5 people HIV knowingly. That's a Canadian football legend story for you.
And just really quickly, as far as Scott Wiener actually wrote a bill that would lessen the penalties for knowingly pass somebody a disease.
Yes, this is also true.
So we're basically contradicting that directly. Of course, this isn't in California, so it doesn't really relate, but this is how, how logically they get twisted into these pretzels and none of it makes any sense.
So this even went to an arbitrator, as Geico deserved, I think, even though I'm defending a huge insurance company here. An arbitrator later found that the couple's sex in the vehicle directly caused or directly contributed to the cause of HPV infection. But how? Somebody tell us how. They asked for the award to be tossed out, claiming the judgment violated its rights to due process, but the request was denied. Somebody, like this judge, hates insurance companies or something, or hates somebody that works at Geico. A 3-judge panel found that the lower court did not err by denying Geico's motion, saying the company did not have a right to relitigate those issues.
Look, I would love to just... Continue. Yeah.
This is the end of it. One of the judges concurred, but said the company was offered, quote, no meaningful opportunity to participate in the lawsuit, and existing law relegates the insurer to the status of a bystander. So Geico it doesn't even sound like they got to defend themselves. It was just determined by an arbitrator that somehow being in the car, like, what is some explanation, please? I don't even know what it could be.
No, I literally have no idea, and that's why I was like, wait, did the guy work for Geico, and that's why the company is supposed to be held responsible?
Insurance. I don't know what. We should dive into this and do a 1-hour special on it, I think.
It doesn't make any sense. It feels like a money grab from the woman, right? Okay, so she throws out a crazy number. Oh, you owe me $10 million or something, and of course, if you get 5, you're going to be pretty happy with that. But I genuinely, this is not like a rhetorical or sarcastic thing. How? I mean, the insurance company is supposed to cover accidents and natural disasters, and
that's both of those.
Okay, true. I guess so, but don't they? You've got a good point there. But is the car okay, right? Like, I mean, they're supposed to, if your windshield gets busted, or if your window gets broken, or if the car just gets stolen. But I don't understand how a car insurance company is responsible for the health.
You know the movie The Other Guys?
No, was that a football movie or something?
No, that's Mark Wahlberg. That's The Replacements you might be thinking of. But Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell are cops, and they keep finding homeless men having orgies in their car. You have to see this movie.
No,
I don't know how you haven't seen that. It's a great movie. Yeah, you're too cool for that. We know. So, Eric Butler, the Muppets, and I know Fleckus of Fleckus Talks has been calling people Muppets for a long time, and now the Muppets are Muppeting. And they are now shilling in conjunction with the Colbert Report, who we know he had the vaccine commercials. We got our copyright strike for that one time. Even though we win every single copyright strike, I believe, and almost every monetization challenge, for some reason, showing Colbert's vaccine commercials was too far, even though they were clearly within the rules of copyright and fair use and like reviewing and
what was it, 30 seconds
commentary.
Not even 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, 30 seconds
of the guys dancing in the thing and dressed as vaccines.
And wouldn't they want to spread that message? I mean, regardless of what we have to say. So do you think, and we'll never be able to figure this out, but do you think if we had gone on there and say, hey, look, this segment from Colbert is totally awesome, would it have been strike? I mean, don't they want to get that message out?
I would think that they would, because it's YouTube, they would say, hey, these people are promoting this, so yes, it's allowed.
Which
But,
kind of reminds me of like the notification that I got today on Instagram, because I hadn't even really been posting that many reels or whatever recently. And then I posted one, I guess last week, about because it's campaign season and these campaign signs are popping up all over the place. And there is nothing controversial. It's not anything to do with transgenders or election or the Rona shot or any of that stuff that's typically what gets you banned, but just talking about my experience seeing all these signs pop up and what this neck of the woods, like what this neighborhood really looks like. And then I get a notification saying that, well, you're at risk of being ineligible. So all the other stuff that I said, the one that you took down, the one that was originally took down and then got reinstated and blew up, that's okay. But if I say, well, I don't like Democrats, then they're like, whoa, that you can't. I mean, we just have to start talking in code like Huey, like Rob from Huey Media does. You see his posts now; they're all got emojis and they're all scribbled out with the finger.
yeah, the
it's like you have to talk
thumbtacks
in
and everything.
Yeah, the thumbtacks and the little virus emojis and the pie. I think that he's using for the word pizer. So had I just, I guess, had I just created that same reel, but at the very end of it said, I don't like the Republican Party, I probably wouldn't have got that notification saying that my account is at risk of being demonetized. And last little bit on that, I know we've gotten off topic just a little bit here, is that when I go to click why, like more information, it says, oh, there's an error occurred on this page and you can't see it.
An error? Your
An
New
error.
York accent. Your
Error.
New York
Error.
accent's coming out.
Well, okay,
My error.
error. Like,
my era.
So when I want to find out why I'm in trouble, it's just magically, oh, glitch in the system. I don't know, man.
So they're shilling. There's nothing Colbert won't shill for, was what I was getting at. And then even January 6th, the Muppets will shill for that.
It's the House Select Committee's January 6th hearing.
This is so strange.
Who is this for?
It's time for Benny Thompson.
Boomers?
It's time for Adam Schiff. It's time to out the traitors from January 6th.
It's time to shine a spotlight on those behind the coup.
Oh my god.
Every channel except, of course, Fox News.
Of course.
It's time to find the people who tried to hang Mike Pence.
Well, they're Republicans, I guess.
The world does not make sense.
Why don't we get things started?
Most injurious, Nazi curious, always in.
Oh god.
Yes, most delicious. This is what we call the Jensen Show.
It's embarrassing.
What did we just...
It's absolutely
You wanna go?
embarrassing. So, okay. The first question that comes to mind, of course, is who it's not for children, it's for really, really stupid adults or just complete people who are completely brainwashed. They're already, this isn't converting anybody, right? This is for people who
It's
already
just people,
believe
yeah.
this.
It's just, adding an extra sugar to your tea, to use a like soccer term or something. Nazis.
Yeah, coup,
what else was in
traitors, all those buzzwords.
That was just so weird. And then they, of course, the old white men who are supposed to be the endearing characters who are grumpy are unsure Republicans, and then they say it's time to put it on all the airways except Fox News. One, they think that the Fox News is the only non-left, and they're very establishment in their own right, but they think they're the only non-left news outlet that exists, so that they can be like, oh look, there's one network and they're the crazy people. And on top of that, they think that that everybody should be broadcast. If everybody's not broadcasting this, then there's something wrong with them. Like, how is that like not North Korea? Everybody must broadcast the same stuff because why? In their mind, the narrative that their followers should believe, and I mean like really, and I was thinking about this last night of the categorization of people, and I don't even like it. It took me a long time to start saying like the left, but the very far left, let's say liberal Democrats, they want their audience to believe that this is so important that it's like dangerous for somebody not to air this non-trial. They'll call it a hearing, even though it's not like a legal thing. That's their point of view that they want their viewers to see. But from their point of view, it's we got to get these people because we're doing so bad right now that we got to find something for everybody to focus on and think that it's actually somehow still we're 2 years later, more than 2 years now, or is it more than
No, a
or is
year
it
and a half.
2021? A year and a half now, and still what Trump has done is rooting our country, even though the only thing he's guilty of probably in this sense is printing too much money. But then Biden and everybody carried on and keep printing money, and everything's Putin's fault and all this stuff. So they need to get everybody's eyes off of their terrible debt, their terrible gas prices, and their terrible inflation and lack of product that they want to purchase. So this is the only way they know how, and they're fine with telling people who are watching at home, the people that you may or may not feel sorry for who are watching this and believing it, it's crazy of you to not be paying attention to this as the first thing on your mind. It's crazy if this isn't the most important thing in the world. And this is neo-Nazis, this is white supremacists, this is Republicans, this is Fox News. It's all these things that you were suspecting all along because we've been telling you that is the problem with our country. That's actually what's happening now. And the thing they kept saying was our democracy's at risk.
Yeah. Well,
I
they
don't
love that
understand
one.
it.
Well,
Mhm.
they love that one. The democracy's at risk. It's a key buzzword because they prey on incredibly low information, low IQ people. I mean, they're okay, not literally, but figuratively vultures. Like if you need to be, I don't know what you got going on. Are you playing another sound, another clip?
No.
Oh, yeah. So they prey on these stupid people who will just buy into anything they say, even though that group of people is starting to is starting to get smaller and smaller. That's why we have all the censorship, right? Because of course memes. I mean, they've been fact checking memes for 2 years now, but
Mhm.
they know that the internet is because look before what in all the way up until about 2005 or when everybody got an iPhone basically, they still had total control because for the most part even in those early 2000s, most of the news pre-Twitter, pre-Instagram, most of the news still had to come from television and they had complete control of that. But now that you can do a podcast from two different countries, you can have all sorts of Tim Pool type of people and whatever other commentators are out there. Everybody can just have their own say now. So of course we need to censor that because we had complete control 15 or 20 years ago. Now we see that control you know slipping away, and they use the buzzwords Nazi sympathizer, coup, what else?
Seditionist.
Seditionist, yeah. And we see the same thing with Rona, this LGBTQ stuff, and January 6th. It's so obvious that it's painfully obvious that none of it has to do with the point they're actually trying to make. This is they all of these issues work towards the same exact goal of you just obeying. If you don't have a pride flag, if you don't go to a pride parade, if you don't accept that a man can magically turn into a woman, then you're a bigot. If you don't believe that you should be wearing 2 masks and you have to get 4 shots or get a shot every single month, then you want to kill grandma. If you don't believe that January 6th is the worst thing since 9/11, then you're a traitor. So no matter what happens, you have to obey our command, and they're going to keep throwing these completely extreme points of view at the wall and see who picks up on it. But they will obviously ignore the peaceful protest back in the summer of love. They will ignore when protesters set the St. John's Church on fire across the street from the White House. They will ignore when Chuck Schumer quite literally said, you're going to pay the price. You're going to feel the wrath. You won't know what hit you, to the conservative justices if they roll back abortion rights. So they throw these completely extreme things at the wall. And when anybody says, maybe I don't really want to do that, they look right back at that person and say, you're the extremist. And it's just so bizarre how anybody, left, right, or otherwise, can't see through these completely manipulative tactics.
It's reached a point, Eric, and I just turned you off for a second. It's reached a point, Eric, that I can't picture anybody other than like, and I'm sorry to say it again, boomers, 60-year-old plus watching this, like Stephen Colbert's right. It's like you get sucked into this thing where it's like you're watching it every night and you think that that's the only point of view that exists. And imagine that from like birth on to the age of 60 or something. And of course it's still like 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds that get into this. But I explained it to somebody once who was kind of being like, wait a minute, isn't this stuff starting to go too far? And I'm just like, now you will start to realize that there's an entire other half of the world that exists. And if you are never aware of that, excuse me, and you go into like your 50s thinking that like Snapchat and Instagram are just giving it to you straight, Jimmy Kimmel is just giving it to you straight, and any other point of view is crazy, then you might have a very rude like awakening into the world. And I don't know like what else would have to happen, and I'm sure I've said this before, but Trump coming in and then the next election and all the BLM riots and all the women's march and everything. What does it take to what does it take to pay attention or to start asking some questions?
Well, they've just been, they've successfully been brainwashed. I mean, truly, there's really no other way to put it. And as far as like the boomers specifically, I think, of course, this establishment has been at it for far longer, so they've been working on it for decades versus the younger, the 20 or the 30-year-olds who still might be able to claw their way out of it. But the older folks, they think, this is my take on it, obviously, they think that the CNN and the ABC that they grew up with back in the 70s or 80s is the same. And maybe it is the same, and they've always been lying to us, and it wasn't until the advent of the internet that people can start to see the truth. But they can't get out of it, because after 30 years of trusting the same source, you're not going to say, well, especially if that source is telling you that well, so and so's evil. And if that person that they've labeled evil is saying these people can't be trusted, well, of course they're going to just stick with what they know. Like, well, no, I've been following these people for the last 40 years, so I've got to stick with it.
That's like the problem, though. If you look at like, you could go back, and if you start looking into history, like we go back to like 1994, Bill Clinton or something signing this crime bill. It's like nobody saw like this, like to your point of it's been bad the whole time. People just didn't pay attention. Of course, people are paying more attention to politics now than they ever were. But if you were paying attention, you don't see how like Bill Clinton was screwing things up. You didn't see how like George Bush was getting like paid from a war. Like you didn't see any of this. You didn't see how Dick Cheney was profiting, and maybe they did, but they didn't do anything. There was no big movement. The only movement that came from it was, we don't like war, bro. Like there was no, back in the day, there was no people stopping Joe Biden from saying all the crazy stuff he did. There was no people stopping, housing crisis from happening. There was none of like, until the advent of social media and the point where Trump said, the WikiLeaks emails, you just got to read them. There was nobody being like, hey, this is what's really going on. And if they were, maybe they were cut out of stuff, but it's hard for me to believe that there was only one Alex Jones out there. You know what I mean? Nobody else had the gall to go on the radio, or what's the name? Rush Limbaugh. Nobody else had the gall to go out on the radio or on television or start their own news channel or anything like that. I don't think there was. Like, where was all this, and how did it get to this point? Because it's been happening, we can probably say, since at least the 70s, where we've been into this news spiral where, you know, what's his face lies about being under fire from a helicopter, and Anderson Cooper comes in, and then all these people come in. The View's been around since the 90s, kissing Bill Clinton's ass, but also calling him creepy and weird once he gets caught. Like, it's all this stuff, like, it's never been us. And you get Gen X taking some responsibility, but they're also very what's the word I'm looking for, aloof about the situation. Gen Z is very much like, no, it's the older generation who did this. They don't understand because you're not gay enough, I guess. And millennials are just thinking that it is all their fault. They're the ones doing this. But the people, and I don't know if we've discussed this before, who have golden parachutes, like this gigantic retirement package, and it comes to roost in the city where I'm from, Oshawa, Ontario, where tons and tons of people got these golden parachute retirement packages from the automotive plants. Full benefits, full salary for the rest of their life, a car voucher. You get like a $15,000 car voucher towards a new car every 4 years. And then it's like, we couldn't see this coming. Well, who knew? Well, I have no idea how this happened. How is our economy collapsing? How is our society going this way? We should be giving out these participation trophies. None of these generations saw it coming. And of course, it's not all of them. But who do you think got Justin Trudeau voted in and has been getting him voted in? It's not the 20-year-olds who are voting super leftist NDP, even though that would be worse. It's the people on the East Coast that are voting for him, retirees. And then who are the other people in this age bracket voting for? They're voting for establishment conservatives. And I know people who watch Rebel News and who might tune into this and read Tatum Report are going to say, it's not me. It's not me. But it reminds me of the episode of some show where Ann Coulter's on. Do you remember this clip where she's talking about fatherlessness and how it contributes to, children being truants and committing crimes and becoming murderers? And then each single mother in the audience starts standing up and say, I'm a single mother and I don't act this way. My friend's a single mother and she doesn't, and her children don't act this way. It's it's the not me syndrome. So if you look at the people who are actually voting in Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau, and on the other side they think the leader of the Canadian Conservative Party is going to save them. It's just like, I don't like this new person anymore. I don't like Justin Trudeau anymore, but somebody else is going to save me. So, and that's what I feel like the mentality has been for so long. It's like somebody else is going to do it. And for Generation Z, God bless them for how stupid some of their beliefs are might be. Some of them aren't. Some of them are very conservative. Some of them are libertarian. Some of them are insane. But they're actually going out and doing things. And you can't condemn people for that when it's been since when was the last time you had a meaningful protest in North America about anything? Vietnam or something like that? And like LA riots happen and nobody puts a stop to anything. Occupy Wall Street, but didn't do anything, didn't get anything done. And then we're even moved to this point in time now, Eric, where these freedom protests happen and they have no goal. Like 2 years and they didn't do anything. They just said, we're angry and we're upset. We're going to walk around on Saturday afternoons. And it was great at the beginning. And then you realize they don't do anything. And then they join
That's
these
like
groups
BLM.
and sell their t-shirts. BLM does the same thing. And then they burn everything down. And then it comes to a point where it's like, what are you actually doing? Oh, all we ended up doing was stealing a whole bunch of money from people. The only protests that have worked are the truckers in Ottawa. And that's why you should thank a trucker every damn day, because they're the only ones who are able to get anything done. But it's the whole somebody else is going to do something. And it's been happening for 30 plus years, Eric. And I'm glad that on both sides, finally, people are starting to pay attention, even if I disagree with the Muppets. I'm still going to say at least the Muppets are showing you their cards. At least Justin Trudeau tells you that he hates you. But the Conservative Party doesn't tell you. They say, oh, we'll save you. Don't worry. Shut up and vote for me and we'll save you. And this is the people who keep believing them. And I'm sorry that I have to point out that they're majority from a certain age bracket. That doesn't mean you're all bad. End scene, Eric Butler.
Well, I just, since you brought up the protests that don't do anything, I'm still very curious as to what, if you were to ask Hawk Newsom, what the end goal is for BLM New York, what would he say? They have no. There was a video from
He
Leroy.
says he opens schools and stuff, remember, and feeds people.
Okay, so is that the goal? I mean, that can't be the end goal because they're still angry. They
There's still
have to
stuff
always
to
be. They still
Yeah.
have to be angry about something. And there was a video that Leroy posted a couple of weeks ago of a guy at Union Square Park, I believe, in New York City, and he's just talking about how nothing has changed, and even though the guy that, uh, that I guess killed, I don't know, the guy who was involved with George Floyd's like, even though he's in jail, that doesn't matter. There's still so. It's like, dude, you guys. So basically, what you're saying is, no matter what happens, you're still going to be angry. And then he goes on to say that they want new laws. They want new laws that I guess are going to protect black people. And it's like, wait, you spent the last 2 years screaming about how awful cops were, but now you want new laws. And who do you expect to enforce those laws? And then the whole time he's smoking a joint. And it's like, dude, this is what happens. These people's brains are fried. They don't know what's going on. They don't they can't they don't even know what time it is, bro. I mean, like, literally they're just like, oh, like, yeah, we just want new laws, man. Like, it's the same thing, like, the same thing keeps happening. And it's like, well, you're in New York, one of the most liberal, weirdo, left-wing places in the country, and you're still complaining. I mean, are you've got everything that you wanted. I mean, you literally demanded $1 billion be taken away from the NYPD, and then De Blasio did it. So,
Mhm.
are you going
What
to
I
go
don't
to?
understand is how bad do things have to get when you're at the point, or how bad do you believe they have to be where you're at the point where it's like, I must only do things for my race. They must think things are so bad to just be like, I'm sure. And he said this to his credit. He said that he'll help people if they ask him. But obviously the plan is to help black people. You talk about Killer Mike, the rapper, and people who roll in that circle, and it's strictly push not is it Pusha T who talks like that too? No, it's actually Royce the 5'9", the rapper, who talks like that. Sorry, Pusha T. But they talk about, like, I'd rather have black separation, not segregation, black people going in and living on their own. And I just wonder how bad it would have to be for me to say I only am going to care about my race. And the answer is actually never. The answer is actually never, because I'm never going to be like, well, Eric Butler agrees with everything I have to say and wants to have the same type of government I do, but he's not white, so I'm afraid I can't allow him in here. And coming from where I come from, where some of my best friends were native guys, so Trinidadian, he looks Indian, talking about a guy named Miguel that I know. They could all think the exact same things of me, but what? I'm not supposed to like them, or I'm not supposed to support them. I'm supposed to say, oh, only people of this race I can support. So let me start a racial identitarianism group. And if somebody else says that's racist, then that person's actually racist. And that's what I feel like BLM did. But to counter your point, or not to counter your point, but to go along with your point about who these people are voting for, and these groups and what they're doing, I think that it was very purposeful to give people a hope and to see that other people are like-minded and that they can go out. But all I was asking for the whole time was like a purpose and a demand. The same way BLM demands things, the truckers were able to do that without destroying cities upon cities and having people die. It was actually the police that committed the atrocities in these instances in Ottawa, for example. And then the other ones they disagreed with. They disagree with the blockage of the border in two places. And I wonder why, because you disagreed with it when the government shut things down, and when the government told people they can't open businesses. But when people decide that you can't do commerce, it's bad. And it's all these same people who have a Ukraine flag in their bio, and they don't see the irony there while they're saying, like, I hate Joe Biden. Or they have a
I mean, and
whole,
these
like,
are people that want to get rid of your guns as well, right? So we know that guns and weapons are so great that we should send them to Ukraine, but you shouldn't have them,
yes.
right? And they also, again, do these very same people that they hated Donald Trump, they hated him with a passion. Now, say Donald Trump or another Republican were to get into office, would they suddenly want their guns back? I mean, you don't trust
Yes.
these people, but you want them to be the only ones to have the guns?
But it's just like, even if Trump comes back, we've seen kind of like that there are better people and more consistent people than Trump now. As great as he may be for like owning people and being like, if he were in office now, I feel like he'd go to the oil companies and be like, "Hey, you better lower these prices, or else some executive order is going to come out that's going to screw you guys over." Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And as good as he would be for that stuff, he's still going to push vaccines on you. He's still going to say, "Let's support Ukraine." He's still going to say, "Go Israel, go." He's going to start. He's going to do all these, right wing identitarianism things where it's like, this can't be questioned, so let's just shut up about it. Um, and I think we started to notice that there are people better than him, but the laziness and the incompetency comes in the part where all we have to worry about is getting them out. Let's just get Trudeau out, and this isn't me saying this, put him in jail, guys. They all deserve to be in jail. Throw him onto Epstein's island with him, blah, 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 blah. And then who cares what, as long as he's out, let's get the next guy in. Let's get Pierre in. Let's get Trump back in, and they'll save us and everything's going to be right. And it never works out that way. Trump's the closest we've come to that. And I don't think if you're happy with going from extreme pile of shit to lesser pile of shit, then albeit go for it. But all I ever hear is, you're splitting the vote, man. We just need to get Trudeau out, or we just need to get, well, obviously there's only two choices in the US, but like, we just need to get him out. And my response is, if you all voted for like the best person, then that person would be in. I'm sorry, you can't convince people who to vote for, and that you're not using your voice, and no matter how you think that's going to be effective. But the whole, don't vote for this person because it's not going to get the other person out, it's just like such a cowardly argument where it's like, I can't do a good enough job of convincing other people what the truth is, or I don't trust other people to do a good enough job to get to what the truth is. And that's where your battle's going to end. People just really want to play politics, and I understand that side of it, and that's some reaction I get from some of my friends is, you got to play the game a little bit. But if everybody stopped playing the game, then it'd be a little bit more of an even playing field. If only some people are on steroids, the steroid users are still going to win. They're still going to hit the most home runs. And if you're just going to be like, well, I'm going to sit over here and not take my steroids, and everybody's going to love me for it, even though Mark McGuire's hitting 62 dingers and getting $20 million a year, as long as I know. Like, no, you have to get everybody to understand the truth.
Yeah, which is
Eric Butler, TatumReport.com.
Well, that's, and I guess I guess a little bit of devil's advocate here, in the sense of like, yeah, you got to play the game. It's like, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't even get people. Matt Walsh's documentary from a couple weeks ago, or a week or so ago, right? He spoke to one of Leah, the female, the woman, Leah. He spoke to one of her teammates anonymously. She wouldn't even speak. She doesn't agree with this, but doesn't have the courage to say, because the mob will come after her. But that mob is actually not real, bro. Like, okay, yeah, these people are crazy. They're angry on Twitter, but if we can't get people to, even if we can't get 15 college women to say, we're not going to participate in this because this mob is going to come after us, then you literally stand no chance of getting a whole bunch of people, the entire population, to see through and it's all cool, right? It's very cool. Everybody is on this, yeah, man, both parties suck, bro. And yeah, okay, that's true. Fine. That's a different conversation. Both parties do suck. But we do, unfortunately, have to operate in reality. And I don't think that I think it's more realistic, and I could be wrong on this. This is certainly up for debate, but I think it's more realistic to get a group of people, mostly on the right, because they tend to actually be able to have conversations, to understand your grievances, versus going to the left and trying to get them, because they won't even have a conversation. They won't talk about any of the things that they push, whether it's transgender kids, abortion, gun control. They won't actually discuss any of it. They're just going to tell you that if you don't agree, you are an extremist and you should be banned from social media. So of course we would not like to have more options and different realistic people that are going to take on both sides and take on the crooked establishment, whether left or right. But there's no, the people just have zero courage. I mean, and not to shade the girls from the swim team or whatever, but it's like you agreed to do this interview because you don't like this, but you wouldn't show your face because what? The Twitter mob, because you think you're not going to be able to get a job. I can almost guarantee you the same we see with these baseball players. Like they say they don't want to wear the pride stuff, and it's like, well, okay, so some rage bait media is going to write hit pieces about you, but I'd be willing to bet, and honestly, I think their jerseys would probably be more popular, not because people agree with your stance, but because you were able to speak up against something. Like you just you had your own personality rather than just going with the flow of everything that everybody says. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is it sounds good and people should be, of course we want everybody to actually pay attention and vote for somebody rather than vote against something, right? Like we just need to get rid of this guy, anybody. I remember a long time ago there used to be stickers around San Francisco that said anybody but Bush. I was a kid, you know what I mean? And I remember thinking, well, do you have any suggestions, or are you just going to say what you don't like? So if we can't convince a women's swim team to all come forward and say we're not going to participate if you let men in, there's really no chance that we don't stand, not to be like negative Nancy or pessimist, but you don't even stand a chance. These people in San Francisco, last thing here, or not San Francisco, New York, that video that Fleckus posted a couple of weeks ago of a guy who didn't even know what a compass was, and they didn't know what continent they were on, and they barely even know what year it is. Those are the people that politicians prey on, and once they've been completely controlled, and we know they've been completely controlled because when somebody will tell you that a man can magically become a woman because he thinks it, that's control. When you're compromised, you start painting your nails, that's control. When you're waving around these flags, when you do your I stand with Ukraine, you have been controlled. And we know this because we see the pig video, right? Remember that from a couple of weeks ago? Squeak, 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 squeak. The women who that is
Everyone
what
really got to you.
because dude, that's the creepiest thing, bro. Because these people, if they won't even look, I'm willing to have a discussion with anybody. One of my buddies suggested that I quote unquote debate somebody on this transgender thing, and I'm like, dude, anybody. Like I'll talk to because you're not going to convince me that the most basic human biological fact is not real. You could try, we can discuss it, and I will appreciate anybody who's willing to discuss it, but most of these people won't even have the conversation. They shut you out and squeak the toy in your face. So that's how all the memes we see, NPCs or whatever, that's exactly what they are. And I don't know how and I think maybe memes might be a way to get to them. And that's why memes are getting fact checked now, because as soon as a meme gets a fact check, they can say, well, look, this person is that's a conspiracy. And it's like, well, then you've just been completely written off. So I guess to answer the question, I have no idea, or I don't know if you asked the question, but you mentioned this
I
a
don't
long
think I
time.
did.
You mentioned a long time ago, like, what is it going to take to get these people? And unfortunately,
it's kind of the question you always ask, though.
Yeah.
You say maybe this month people start to wake up, and that's my best Garrett Butler impression. Let's see if we can get this Morgan Zeger video to work. If not, we'll just go straight to Taylor Lorenz before we go.
Hey guys, it's Morgan. I wanted to come on quickly and address what happened.
No, it's not going to work properly. We really need to.
Well, this one's too long. I think it was like 5 or 6 minutes. So I don't know how.
There is the guy. So what happened with Taylor Lorenz here? We'll read.
Well, hey, really quick.
Yeah.
Can you just explain the Morgan thing, and then we'll get into Taylor really quick. We'll do it. We'll do boom.
Well, I think the guy was complaining that she was carrying a gun. Is that what it is, or was he talking about just Trump supporters?
Well, I think, and I I didn't watch every single minute of the video. I kind of scrolled through it a little bit, like scrubbed through it. And from what I could gather, he was angry about her Turning Point USA hat.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you're right. And he says like people like you shouldn't even be allowed in places like this. And then she comes back with, we'll do something with it. Maybe we'll record a bit with it after. But and she's like, you don't think I should be allowed in this restaurant? And he's like, no. And this is like a guy in his 50s, like picking on this young girl. And it's just, and she says the right thing. She says, the reason our country is so shit right now is because men like you have power. And imagine getting owned by a young girl that hard. Like you
Yeah,
got to go
she's
home and you got to sit and cry in the shower, Ace Ventura style, and plunger your face. Oh, that's gonna get screenshotted, but plunger your face.
and we'll move on to the Taylor Lorenz thing. But last thing here is that guy, the guy in that video, is
Mhm.
the picture perfect example of what's in DC. Last time I was in DC, which may or may not have been around January of 2021, there's guys, you see guys walking around the street in a mask, in a Biden Harris mask, holding coffee. And it's like, are you going to drink the coffee or are you not? Like and you see the signs, you see the Black Lives Matter, we believe in science, thank you, Dr. Fauci, we're all in this together. I mean, it really is the swamp. All of these people, I think they truly believe this stuff. And that guy was exactly the picture of what I remember being in DC, like this feeble little guy walking around with his Starbucks coffee and his Biden Harris mask, and it's like, are you gonna drink the coffee, bro? Or you're just gonna walk around and virtue signal, like so. Yeah,
They
that is
had
the
a
perfect example of what a man in DC is. I guess is the point.
They had a naked bike ride in Toronto yesterday, and the picture I saw was just an old man riding a bike, a city bike. Like they rented these bikes. He's riding it naked, and he's wearing a mask. That's just Toronto right there.
Gotcha.
I have to fly soon for work, and as someone who is medically vulnerable, I'm so scared. Poor Taylor. All COVID precautions that keep high risk people safe have been dropped. I plan to keep an N95 on my face for all 7 hours with 0 water breaks, but I'm scared it may not seal perfectly. Any tips? She can't be a real person.
Yeah.
Like, no, who 0 water breaks for 7 hours? Then why are you on the plane?
For work.
If you're that afraid, why are you on the plane? Well, I'm sorry. Then you have to drive. Like the whole world like has to completely turn upside down because you're this afraid. Like so the precautions should just be on forever, Eric Butler. Like if you're legitimately afraid or I'm afraid of nut or I have a nut allergy or something. Do I have to go into the peanut factory? Do I have to go into the Jif or what's some other peanut brands, Eric? Help me
Five
out here.
Guys.
I've
They're
never
the
heard of
peanut-
that. But peanuts. If I have to go into a peanut factory, Eric, and I'm allergic to peanuts, maybe I shouldn't go in there. This peanut factory needs to be watching all of its, facilities for people who are allergic to peanuts, so people who are allergic to peanuts can go to the peanut factory. No, it's just like not everybody has to manipulate their whole lives around to suit you. So if you think that you are going to catch something by going on a plane, well, guess what? You got to take a train and buy the extra seat next to you, or you got to drive. I'm sorry, Taylor, but this is like you can't be a baseball player, and this is the second baseball analogy of the day, but I can't bat. I want to play in the outfield, but I can't bat. You can't make me bat. It's too unsafe. I don't want to get hit by a ball. You can't just be like the world has to adapt to me, even though it seems like everybody else is on to a new point. And would you say this about would Taylor Lorenz say this about like gay bathrooms or something? Would she say that like you have to accommodate me and too bad for the trans people? She would never have this opinion if it was her opinion being foisted upon people that she would determine to be a marginalized group. So I'd
be willing to bet, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I'd be willing to bet that this woman would have no problem calling somebody who doesn't believe all the articles written in the Washington Compost an extremist. So if you didn't believe that well, inflation's not really happening, but then actually inflation's good and this is all Putin's fault. If you didn't believe all of that, then you're the extremist. Meanwhile, she's tweeting about how nervous she is to get on a flight. So you're actually the extremist, right? But this is the
Exactly.
gaslighting. This is the projection that happens. And like I said, to bring it full circle, this pride stuff, this coronavirus stuff, all of this, it literally has nothing to do with what they're and this goes without saying, everybody knows this, but it has nothing to do with what they're claiming. It's all just completely different ways to get people to capitulate to their weirdo dogma of just like obey every single thing we say. So now, any tips? Do you guys have any tips? Yeah, Taylor. Use a plastic bag. Use a plastic bag and duct tape it around the neck. Like,
I don't even know what to say. I threw up on a plane once.
I've never done that. I've actually had some pretty pleasant flying experiences in my day. So knock on wood, I haven't traveled. The last flight I was on. Damn, oh no, I went to Florida. I think about a year ago. Which
I was hungover. I was in the military, coming back from training, and I ate a huge thing, like a huge fruit salad, in the airport, and then threw up on the plane into a doggy bag, and it smelled pretty pleasant because it was all citrusy. And then I watched the movie Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood, where he is racist, but he's also not racist at the same time. And he's insulting everybody. And then that was pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie. I was expecting not to like the movie. This is where I start to lie about everything. I then befriended a bald man next to me and shined his head the rest of the flight. All right, I think we've hit the wall here.
I feel
Where
like
I just start making up a story.
I feel like we didn't get to something we were supposed to get to, but we're out of time.
We got to Taylor Lorenz. Yeah,
Was
we
there
can't go
something
over
else?
time. There was a couple extra things. I don't remember though.
Yeah, I don't remember
closed the
either.
windows already. My apologies. Thank you everybody for listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You hear about the Google engineer who said that they have an AI that's about the equivalent of a 6 or 7-year-old?
I saw that headline, but I did not read it. I mean, I literally saw it
creepy.
like earlier this morning, and I didn't get around to
creepy.
reading it. Maybe we'll talk about it next week.
uopod.com or unauthorizedopinions.com. Follow us on Telegram. Eric's got a Telegram. I've got a Telegram. And TatumReport.com and rebelnews.com. My show this week was with Jason Miller from Getter. Getter's getting its own coin, Eric, its own crypto coin. And you'll learn more about that in my episode. And
more crypto
Chandler Crump is
scams,
there.
yes.
Wow.
Sorry.
My crypto is so low. So low and pathetic right now.
Yeah, I haven't been watching.
No,
because,
I've given up too.
Yeah, it's that money's gone. Maybe I'll come back to it in 5 to 10 years and be like, oh, cool.
Oh, you'll be like Fry from Futurama.
Yeah.
Oh, $3 million, whatever. And what does he spend it on?
I don't remember, but I do remember enjoying Futurama at least for a little bit. I don't know what they're up to.
I think he spends it on making his apartment look exactly like it was in the 90s. Yeah, that's all you got, Eric.
Turn it up, Jordan.